Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
Welcome everyone, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Monday, January 21st. Thank you for tuning in this 2019 year of whatever we celebrate 2019 years of. But I know around here one thing we celebrate is magnesium and Dr. Carolyn Dean. And I have to say, ladies and gentlemen, that the news just keeps getting better and better and better. And what you're going to hear this evening is such important information. I don't have any way of really inspiring you to go out and commit yourself to sharing this information with your friends and loved ones. But if you do, there's going to be a little tiny reward for you in your own heart when you realize the impact that you're having on people's health. Dr. Carolyn Dean, being the author of The Magnesium Miracle, herself a doctor and a researcher, a person of great integrity, a naturopath, a person who's done every single kind of therapy that you can possibly even imagine, has really come to the forefront of natural medicine and also the medical community of allopathic medicine by making her declaration of the demand for magnesium, the need for magnesium awareness, and even the need to use a specific kind of magnesium that is going to be fully absorbed and offer therapeutic benefits. And so tonight we're going to be talking about that, along with a lot of other health issues. She can talk about your body. She can talk about your mind. She can talk about your heart. She can talk about your head. She can talk about everything, and she can make a huge difference in your life as you listen to her words of wisdom. And once again, I am reminded today, as I was on Facebook, how many people, when my little green light being on Facebook comes on, people just come rushing to my chat and want to tell me how much Dr. Dean has helped them and saved their life. And I know she has. She's done it by the thousands. So, listen, we're so happy to have her with us this evening. As I've said before, she is a medical doctor and a naturopath. She will not give medical advice, but she will definitely tell you what she would do if she were in your circumstances. And we welcome her to the show again this evening, along with our other wonderful listeners. Welcome, Dr. Carolyn Dean. Hello? Carolyn? Carolyn?
Do you hear me? I'm here.
I hear you now.
Hey, do you know why I love the yay, Ginny?
The little children?
The little children. The yay gives me that 3 seconds to turn off my mute button so that I can enter into the fray immediately. But then it didn't work today, so I guess I better stop thinking things.
Yes, stop thinking and multitasking. You know.
Don't multitask, right?
No multitasking.
So, I have I have a blog that Ginny and I decided to do because so many things were coming up about this topic, and so I'm going to go through the blog, give you my rant based on the blog, and then go into a wonderful educational event. There's a customer of ours, Sue, who asked a question. She apologized for making it so long, but Sue, Ginny, she was. It's one of the last emails that came through. I'm not going to say her last name, but she's a wonderful customer of ours. She's been doing the products for a couple of years, and she's run into some problems that do relate to dosing our products. So I'm going to honor her today with almost like a consultation based on her very thorough email. So I'm looking forward to doing it. I know some people, they don't want to hear too many negative things, but gosh, we know that most of our customers come to us with so much on their plate that sometimes, it is overwhelming. It brings tears to our eyes to hear what people are going through. And we're doing our best to dab away those tears and help people get to their true intent of being healthy and happy and God's children. So, here we go. Ginny's blog, as you can find it on the Dr. Carolyn Dean Live website, and we're talking about magnesium supplementation, determining your needs. In last week's episode, we talked about magnesium deficiency, an urgent call to action. Now, this urgent call to action is ongoing every week. Either Ginny or I will make mention of the fact that at drcarolyndeanlive.com, at the top, you are always going to be able to find something called urgent call to action, subclinical magnesium deficiency, a principal driver of cardiovascular disease, and a public health crisis. And we want you to click on the urgent call to action box and find a link. The red link says subclinical Def and heart. So that's subclinical magnesium deficiency in the heart, and it goes to a beautiful PDF of a paper by our friend James DiNiccolo Antonio and his paper about this public health crisis. I want you to print it up, give it to all your doctors, give it to friends and family. It's time to take action. So following from last week in the magnesium deficiency blog that we talked about, Ginny has these words. As Dr. Dean responded to individual questions throughout the show, I realized, this is a patient, one of the listeners, one of our customers who wrote in. I apologize. So this listener says, as Dr. Dean responded to individual questions throughout the show, I realized, ... I am not taking enough REMAG. I was only taking 1/2 teaspoon a day. Now I am taking 1 teaspoon a day with my goal to use 2 teaspoons a day to protect my cardiovascular system. And then Ginny goes on to say, why does the body require so much darn magnesium? Well, it turns out that magnesium is not only producing necessary enzymes and working in the mitochondria to make ATP energy, but it's also necessary for protein synthesis at the ribosomal level. The ribosomes are the cellular organelles where proteins are synthesized. Magnesium activates the amino acids involved in and allowing the messenger RNA to attach to the ribosomes. That's a little too much information, but it is pretty fascinating what magnesium does. It's also found in the nucleus of the cell, essential for the stability of the RNA and DNA. If RNA and DNA structure do not remain stable, you may have mutations in the codes, genetic codes, and produce incorrect peptides, or none at all during protein synthesis. Energy for the production of proteins must come from ATP as well. Without magnesium available in many areas of the cell, protein synthesis cannot occur. So it's super critical, but how do you know what form of magnesium to take? Of course, we're going to say REMAG all day and every day, because it's the best absorbed, because it's a stabilized ion of magnesium. It's not a magnesium compound that tries to force its way into the cells. And then how much do you take? And can you take it with other supplements? Does it interfere with prescription drugs? And yes, most of our customers come to us and they're on medications, and of course we tell them not to stop their meds, but often they no longer require their meds when they treat their magnesium deficiency. And that's what's going to become evident in Sue's questions. At a certain point, the meds that you were taking now are sometimes doing the opposite of what they should be. And that is tricky to try to figure out, but we'll do our best to give you an example with Sue's case. When Dr. Dean first wrote The Magnesium Miracle, she was mainly interested in educating people about magnesium itself. Now, I'll say this right now. Someone was telling me the other day that we don't market our products, we educate our products. So we're still educating people, but more about REMAG, like Bob says. It's not about magnesium, it's about REMAG at this point. So I was educating people about magnesium itself even before I realized the extent of my own magnesium deficiency with my constant heart palpitations and nightly leg cramps. Initially, I believed that magnesium supplements were much alike, and in my book, in the Magnesium Miracle first edition, I listed all the magnesium supplements and tried to understand their differences, their similarities. Months later, in an Amazon review of the Magnesium Miracle, someone remarked that Dr. Dean's exhaustive list of magnesium products was too much information, too confusing, and time-consuming for them to research what they needed. And this reviewer just wanted to know the best form of magnesium to take based on what I knew. By that time, I had REMAG. And so that's the blog. So that set me off into this round of information. Are you taking enough REMAG? Most people aren't. And why aren't they? And I think it's because many people don't believe one mineral can do so much. So they don't push the envelope and take it to the point of saturation to see how far-reaching are its effects. Number two, after a short time of feeling better, some people find their magnesium deficiency symptoms may recur, and instead of increasing their REMAG at that time, as they should do, they stop it, thinking it's not working because they don't believe one mineral can do so much. So why is it that after a short time of feeling better, symptoms can recur? Well, it's because you're opening up these 700 to 800 enzyme pathway systems, metabolic functions that require magnesium. Once you open them up and get them revved up and going optimally, you continue to need more and more magnesium. Let's say you start with your quarter teaspoon and you activate 50 enzyme systems. The next quarter is going to up the level to another 50, 100. So you need, I don't like the word need, but you do require more and more magnesium as you're opening more things up, as the body goes to different priorities. The priority in the beginning is usually going to be the heart, but it may not be. There are probably thousands of things that the body's trying to do with the magnesium, and you've got to give it the leeway to trust your body that it's going to do it in the priority that's required. Number three, what else can be occurring if a person were feeling better and now not so much? So that could be people aren't following the water guidelines and they don't add sea salt. Magnesium inside the cells pulls in water, and people can actually feel dehydrated if they don't drink their half their body weight in ounces of water. So we had that right at the beginning of using selling the REMAG. People say, oh, I feel dehydrated, and that's probably when I really push the water guidelines. And the fact that most of our water that we drink is depleted of minerals because it's heavily filtered to remove the chemicals, drugs, and heavy metals, so minerals have to be replaced, and that's the sea salt. I mean, at the water treatment plants, they're filtering water. At our own taps, we're filtering water. We buy water in bottles, and if you read the labels, you'd find out that most of it is distilled water. It doesn't have anything in it but wetness. So we add the sea salt. And also, I don't say this enough, somebody mentioned this a while back, without the added iodine and table salt, the iodized table salt, we do have to remind people to take the Remite because that has the iodine you require in it. And that brings us to B, under what else can be occurring. B is people aren't taking their Remite. Most people who come to us have a degree of total body meltdown, and their thyroid and adrenals can really benefit from the minerals in Remite. And number C, people aren't adding their Realign. The B vitamins are very necessary for the adrenals and for the immune system and many other things. And also Realign is our gentle detoxifier, so if a person's symptoms are starting flaring up a little bit, maybe a month into taking their REMAG, it can be because the immune system is being activated and their symptoms are from the detoxification. REMAG is turning on the detox pathways and really needs this help from the B vitamins. Number 4, so we're back to the list of why people aren't taking enough REMAG. What gets in their way? And some people, after a year, feeling really good and taking proper amounts of REMAG, Remite, Realign, and the restructure and the RNA drops, they cut back or even stop it because they're feeling good, and it's like they forget why they started it, and then they start feeling symptoms again. And they might realize, oh, I should get back on my REMAG and Remite, but if they don't, then they start looking elsewhere. And this is what I've heard from people. They go to an allopathic doctor, get blood tests, and are told they have any number of problems, because that's what doctors do. They find problems. They go to a naturopath who recommends $1,000 worth of testing and $1,000 worth of supplements, because that's their job. They read the latest diet book and think they need to follow this particular diet, which throws them into probably the opposite of their keto, yeast-free diet that I tend to recommend. There's a book out right now, Adrenal Reset. Now, it's been around since 2014. I'll probably critique it in the next week or so. But it's telling you to go on the carbs to reset your cortisol. And your cortisol is high because your adrenals are a bit messed up because they don't have enough magnesium and B vitamins. So why mess around with your cortisol instead of treating the underlying problem? D, some people just like the novelty of trying new things, and their focus changes to other products without having experienced the full benefits of REMAG. Another cause of why people don't take enough of our products, after 1 to 3 months, people can be experiencing yeast detoxification. And I kind of mentioned that above, when the body is more activated by the REMAG, the body's detoxification systems, then the body can be killing more yeast, and then you're having yeast rashes, coated tongue, vaginitis, brain fog, fatigue as the yeast toxins build up and the body's trying to eliminate them. this is another time when people think REMAG isn't working. And sometimes they stop. They never get around to calling customer service. But if they did call, we tell them about the yeast overgrowth and suggest they read my book, Reset the Yeast Connection, and start the yeast detox protocol that includes Pico Silver and soil-based probiotics. And, the novelty of new things, or some people may just want to experiment. And maybe going back to number one is they just don't feel that magnesium or REMAG can be the answer. One person said to me she just hates the taste of REMAG so much that she will take, I couldn't believe this, the whole teaspoon in her mouth, swallow it, and then follow with water. Now, that's a sure way to gag and really not want to take your REMAG. And I said, well, look, put it in 8 ounces of water and just drink a couple of ounces every couple of hours and get that teaspoon done, and then do the same thing in the evening. So at least you're up to 2 teaspoons, because she was only able to take 1 teaspoon a day, and she said she started feeling symptoms and thought other things were wrong. And she also has yeast overgrowth. She got to the point even of going on diflucan, and she knows that it's a fluoride drug, but she just, I don't know. I really don't understand sometimes the whole complexity of why people don't do what they know, but I think what Jenny and I will just continue to do is reinforce that through our radio show and through the customer service, just to take the recommended dosage. When you get the
I think, Carolyn, I'm going to interrupt. I think that what we should do is reinforce the fact that you're a doctor, and this is doctor's orders. It's not like you're some freaky little person out there with a product or something. You are a doctor. And, a lot of these people, they, that are so resistant, I do agree that it seems so simple that it offends some people's minds. But honestly, how on earth can you think that taking a pill is a solution for a body that's based in nature? How is this synthetic? I see constantly on my Facebook page all these people ranting on about, purge your house of environmental toxins and get rid of your cleaning supplies. People understand that synthetics are not appropriate for our environment in that regard, but they cannot understand that a synthetic drug that stimulates the brain to suppress symptoms is not a good deal. I really feel like, we should be a little bit more aggressive about pointing out that you're a doctor with your credentials in natural medicine. You understand the biology of the body, and this is a biological solution. It's an imperative for health.
Right. Yes. Okay. So you'll remind people that I'm a doctor, and
I'm going to.
I'll keep blasting away. And the last point here is, if you have flu symptoms, if anything extra comes up, double your dosage of everything. Seriously. You have a protocol, you've maintained on it, but then something goes awry in your life that's not related to what you want. You want to just keep doing what you're doing. Something goes wrong, do not forget your complement formulas. You double them up. If you're given a medication, anything that comes at you, this crazy flu that's going around that causes people to be very fatigued, that means you need more REMAG. So that's the rant, and as I said, I'm going to go into Sue's question, and I appreciate your input there, Jenny. Anything else before I move into the mailbag of the day?
Yes, the case study. No, we are clear. Yeah, we're clear on everything. So let us proceed.
Right, and one little note, this gentleman wrote in based on my blog, Adapt, Adopt, and Survive, and he said something that you mentioned earlier just now, Ginny. He says, I've been a follower of yours for some time now, bracket, and have tried your products from time to time with steady yet modest success. I don't know if there's an easy or simple way to do that, but I now have new confidence that you're not just selling products or hype or opinion or even science, but just the basic reality that everyone and everybody's body is different and requires customization and adaptation accordingly. Now, that's you'd have to read the blog Adapt, Adopt, and Survive to know what he's talking about, but really it's not so much, we know everybody's different, but everybody needs the basic building blocks, and that's all we're providing. So that's where we can say to anybody, start with a quarter teaspoon and work up until your symptoms are gone. And you may need 2, 3, 4 teaspoons. Do not stop at a quarter teaspoon. And this gentleman, he thought, well, I'm not just selling something. and he's tried the products from time to time, so he hasn't really optimized, and he's had steady yet modest success. So just think what's going to happen as he's now decided to take the proper dosing. Okay, so for Sue, I've written to you before, but things are going awry, and I'd like your take on them before I talk to my cardiologist. I've been taking your supplements for a little less than 2 years. When I first started, I was trying to eliminate an ablation surgery for AFib. I had 3 stents placed in 2 arteries. 4 of the 6 arteries were 90 to 100% blocked. I have had high cholesterol ever since they started measuring it, high blood pressure, 140 or over 80 since age 12, diagnosed with goiter, probably born with it, but diagnosed age 12. I was overweight my whole life. Fibroid tumors, hysterectomy when I was 40, diagnosed with Hashimoto's about that time. I don't know if she says how old she is. I think she's in her 60s. Unable to take thyroid because it would give me heart palpitations and or AFib, so she was on the edge. Around 50, I was diagnosed with MS. Was told the first occurrence was when I was 41. Now, that's after her hysterectomy, after surgery. If a person is not well since, I look at magnesium deficiency because of the anesthetics they use. They bind magnesium. But then she did a DMPS challenge test and found to have 100 times the mercury in her system that was considered acceptable. Did chelation therapy, Mare's cocktails, which is intramuscular B's and C for a number of years. At age 57, I had my first heart event. The hospital said it wasn't a heart attack, but my cardiologist said it was. Age 65, 2 other heart attacks. The hospital said they were heart attacks. The cardiologist said not really. So what's going on there? There's different types of heart attacks. There's one called Prince Metal. I can't even spell it. It's a magnesium deficiency attack. The heart goes into a spasm, but it doesn't trigger off the enzymes. So there's magnesium deficiency in my world. Then she says, I'm bumping along for 2 years until the AFib attacks were getting pretty severe and regular. I was looking for an alternative to surgery. Enter Dr. Dean. I started taking your supplements and was doing rather well. AFib attacks subsided. Have not had a full-blown attack in a year and a half. Although according to my blood pressure monitor, my heart is almost always in AFib, but I rarely feel almost always in AFib. Interesting. But I rarely feel anything going on. Thyroid tests were all in the normal range as of last spring. kidney function improved from 50 to 66%. That's the ejection fraction. 66 is, I think it's around normal. Skin issues resolved. Cholesterol went down from 270 to 200, but it's back up a little again last month. Triglycerides normal. Cyst embedded in my cheek for the last 40 years is gone. No bladder infections for a year and a half. I was typically getting 3 per year. More energy, feeling good. Arthritis and knee gone. All the other tests that were done were in the normal range. So what's going on here where she says her blood pressure is going up and she's feeling worse, and now she's going to tell, and look at all what an incredible testimonial for what's going on. So she's better. I'll say in a minute what she's on. She is on 4 teaspoons of Remag, so it's not like she's not on enough, but she's on 2 medications. Metoprolol, low pressor, it's a beta blocker. Now, what are the side effects of this beta blocker? Tiredness, dizziness, diarrhea, alternating constipation, breathing problems, shortness of breath, cough, bradycardia, which is a slow heart rate, rashes, extreme fatigue, depression, and I wrote a blog a while back on beta blockers and how an inadvertent experiment in Europe occurred where, because people get increased heart rate after surgery, I'm just typing in, after surgery they were put on preventive beta blockers. My blog title is Killer Beta Blocker Guidelines. And this was in Forbes magazine, and it was called Medicine or Mass Murder. This article, Medicine or Mass Murder. Guideline based on discredited research may have caused 800,000 deaths in Europe over the last 5 years. And I write, it seems that European guidelines to give everyone beta blockers to prevent heart symptoms during any type of surgery has led to many unnecessary deaths. Now, what happens during surgery, during the anesthetic, is that magnesium gets bound up with the fluoride compounds that are used in most anesthetics, so that you have this drop in your magnesium, your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up. So they think, well, let's give beta blockers and stop all that instead of giving magnesium. So you can read this blog post. Just look up killer beta blockers, and then the side effect is people having heart symptoms and dropping dead to the tune of 800,000. I didn't believe it, but then I found the research, and after a short time after that, I could no longer find the research. It was removed. Sue's also on Eliquis, 5 milligrams. Side effects. Now, all the side effects of this is a blood thinner. So the easy bruising and red blood in the urine and black stools, coughing up blood, all those horrible things. And then it comes to trouble breathing or wheezing, and Sue does mention her oxygen saturation was reduced. Severe headaches are Eliquis side effects. She's been having headaches. Dizziness, severe weakness, rashes, swelling or joint pain, chest pain she's been having as well. Then she goes into what she's on, 4 teaspoons Remag plus Remag lotion, 2 teaspoons Remite, realign twice a day, so that's all perfect. Our Blue Ice Royal, a teaspoon of Pico Silver, the sea salted water. She takes a little bit of extra potassium sometimes and some beetroot. Okay, so then she says, I've been hoping to get off my blood pressure meds, but my blood pressures have taken a turn for the worse. My heart seems to be almost always in AFib, although at the bottom pulse rate, so her pulse rate is not elevated. Pretty constant headache. As of this summer, my oxygen saturation was lower, so she started doing an O2 concentrator, not realizing that the Eliquis could be causing this. She gave herself oxygen. Because of the low oxygen, she was falling asleep a lot, even in traffic, even when driving. So I don't know if she stopped driving or how she handled that. I was told to get a sleep study, and then a few weeks ago I noticed numbness in the middle toe area, so she described through the next paragraph how numbness in her toes, not like her MS. And then she said, I was listening to TV, they had a commercial for Eliquis, and it said one of the side effects could be numbness and tingling of the hands or feet. And then a light bulb went on. So I'm wondering if that's what's causing my problems. I've been taking Eliquis for 2 years now. So, yes, it is likely that. I don't know what the doctor's going to do about that, because if they still think she has AFib, they won't want her to come off the blood thinners. Sue, you could reread my book, Atrial Fibrillation, Remineralize Your Heart, and see what other people have done about that. And she says another question is, why is my blood pressure going up instead of down? Now, I would think when someone has had lifelong blood pressure that once you started getting all the side effects manifesting from your medications, because the side effects will manifest when the body doesn't really need those medications, but the stress of having the side effects is going to tense you up and make your blood pressure go up. Personally, that's what I think is happening. Same with the AFib. Stress will increase atrial fibrillation. And stress will kind of use up your magnesium too, although you are taking a good amount. Do you think more Remag will get me to the point where I won't need blood pressure meds? So what you are in is kind of a vicious cycle of taking medications that are causing side effects that are exacerbating your original symptoms. So it is a matter of finding alternative drugs or remedies to be able to wean off the medications that your body now is, I think, reacting to. She is taking psyllium to combat the loose stools. And she says, when I don't have the headache, I feel great, probably better than I have in my whole life. And she says, I seem to be unable to take calcium. I don't eat hardly any cheese or dairy, and I tried Recalcia. If I consume any of the above, I get Charlie horses that night. So, yes, the calcium, that's a non-starter there. There's probably calcium in your body that is still being dissolved by the Remag that your body is still utilizing. I tried the RNA drops, but I must have tried upping the dose too soon because I felt like I had my foot on the gas and the brake at the same time. So go back on the RNA drops and maybe just take 1 or 2 drops a day. Let me stop and tell Bob to stop making noise. Hang on. There. I did that. I'm back. Okay, start the RNA drops. And then she says, twice in the past few months I had the same feeling I had when I went to hospital with my so-called heart attacks, pain and pressure in my chest while at rest. So I grabbed for the Remag lotion, rubbed it over my heart. I never go anywhere without it. I got up and went to the cupboard where I keep the nitroglycerin. But before I could get it out of the bottle, the pain went away both times. I never had to go to the hospital. And then she ends up with, I gave my cardiologist a copy of your book. He was really interested in reading it. I hope he better understands where I'm coming from. Maybe he'll even incorporate your ideas into his practice. Not holding my breath. Thanks in advance for your time and concern. I feel like we're all just out there alone trying to figure out how to make ourselves feel better. And it's extremely rare to come upon anyone that has a clue what we're talking about, and impossible to find anyone that actually knows something. So Bob's laughing. Yeah. It's not funny. I mean, that is what brings the tears to my eyes, Sue, what you're going through, and that's why I spent these few minutes, these very important minutes, going over your case history. Ginny, anything to add?
I think that's lovely and precious that you did that, Carolyn, and of course you do these kinds of things all the time, 7 days a week actually, but also I would say this is probably more common than we even know when people get on the products and at a cellular level their bodies start to function optimally, and then they remain on their drugs because they're scared to let them go, or they don't know, and then all of a sudden this kind of explosion. I mean, is that kind of the summary? That's what I'm reading in between the lines of what you're saying. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. And it is very difficult, and you've described it well, that people are afraid to get off their meds, and we can't tell them to get off their meds. We know that. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, in the beginning, we don't want them to get off their meds. In the beginning, we don't. We say stay. So it can be kind of confusing. In the beginning, we say stay on it, because you need it psychologically, and also it may be doing something for you biologically until you can get the building blocks into your system. And then once those start to establish and really take hold and do their restorative work at a cellular level, that foundation is much more solid. And then they have an opportunity to start experimenting with. And we don't even say chuck them in a bucket, or, we say work with your doctor. And we also say, use your wisdom and pay attention to how your body feels, and, moderate your dose down, not just, scrap the whole program.
Right. Well, what's interesting is Sue gave a copy of Magnesium Miracle to her cardiologist. He seemed interested. She did mention that in both her so-called heart attacks, he said that they weren't. So perhaps Sue could go to him and say, look, you said it wasn't a heart attack. I'm on the edge of AFib, but I don't have it. I think my blood pressure is going up from the stress of having these drug side effects. Will you work with me and wean me off these medications? And as I feel better, I think things are going to improve because I'll be more in control of my health. I mean, look how far Sue's come. She's been a good customer for a couple of years. We don't want her to be involved now, and she doesn't want to be involved in a system where now they're saying, well, it's just not working anymore. You have to take more drugs, whereas it's the opposite. It is exactly the opposite. She doesn't need these medications, in my opinion. If I were her, I would not think I would need these medications. I have to be careful here. But at the same time, I'm feeling for Sue and what she's having to go through, being forced to take these drugs. I mean, it's not just doctors either. I mean, the customer service will tell you it's people's family that they think if their mom or dad is weaning off their meds, that's the worst thing in the world. It's a real fight.
Yeah, and it's a delicate balance because at the end of the day, and the thing that I know, Carolyn, is your guiding light 100% is do no harm. That's in your oath. That's what you've said. You've told me that repeatedly, privately, and publicly, that every decision you make is guided by those terms, do no harm. So our intent as an organization, as communicators, is not ever to do any harm. Our intent is to alleviate harm and to restore health. I mean, that's the whole purpose of the mission here. So it is a delicate balance, but I think you've done a great job of laying it all out, what all the possibilities were. And, and Julie typed in, I got off all my steroid inhalers after using Remag for 6 months. I just knew I was going to be fine without them. You've got to go with your gut. And that is, that's one possibility, is going with your gut. And, of course, the other possibility is go with your doctor, as we're obligated to say. And we want to say that, There's a lot of good doctors out there. And I think, Carolyn, what you said, if she goes to the person and she did the doctor and she makes that case, then the doctor probably will respect her opinion and say, yes, let's do this together. And if he doesn't, then she's got even more insight.
Yeah, hopefully Sue will get back to us and let us know how it goes, and we're happy to continue to work with Sue about this. It's very important.
Absolutely. Okay, so 602-666-6027 is the number to call this evening if you've got questions for Dr. Dean. I see some new names and faces. Well, I don't see your face, but I see your phone numbers on our chat line here at the studio, so I'm thinking that maybe a couple new people are calling, wanting to talk to Dr. Dean. Let me just say, if you're one of those people, you've got to hit star 5 on your keypad to let us know that you have a question or comment, and then we'll see your hand in the studio and we'll take your phone off mute and you can talk with Dr. Dean. Otherwise, your phone remains on mute and we don't hear you and we don't know you want to talk with Carolyn. So we've got a couple raised hands, Carolyn, and we can do some phone calls. We've got about 10 minutes to the top, or you can continue to make your statements. Which would you prefer?
Well, let's do a couple of phone calls. I'll try not to drag them on, as I sometimes do. But the first 15 minutes of hour 2, I do want to try to get through the mailbag, because otherwise I have to write everybody an email. Okay?
Okay. Very good. Very good. All right. Well, let's go to great old Talladega, Alabama. Talladega, Alabama. Hey. You're on the phone with Dr. Dean. You could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Oh, yes, this is Jimmy Kent from Talladega, Alabama. How y'all doing this evening?
We're doing good. Is their first name Jimmy?
Yes, ma'am, it sure is.
Okay,
and,
go ahead.
Kind of ask you a question on diverticulitis. Does that mag help any way, to help you use the restroom in any ways? That's the first time I've been online. I really don't know what to ask, but...
Right. You're talking about diverticulitis?
Yes, ma'am. Well, it's diverticulitis. It's not infected, and I have trouble using the restroom all day, every day, and I was just wondering if that mag would help any diverticulitis.
Well, yeah, magnesium, most magnesiums are laxative. Ours is not. What it does is it helps the intestines work better so that you don't have constipation. But the thing with getting the bowels to work better and not causing the diverticuli, there are pouches in the intestines that get pushed out because of constipation, you need to drink enough water. And what we tell people is you take your body weight in pounds. Mm-hmm. So say you're 200 pounds, then you're going to take half of that amount in ounces of water. So that's 100 ounces a day. If you're not drinking that much water, you work up to it, gradually. So 100 ounces a day, and in every quart of those ounces, every quart you're going to put a quarter teaspoon of sea salt.
Okay, I have some of that, sure.
Yeah, so that's the water. The water is going to help loosen the intestinal matter, and then the Remag, it will help get the intestines to work better. That's the basics. Okay. Now, what you can do, Jimmy, is go to my website, drcarolyndeanlive.com, and I have a book there called Future Health Now Encyclopedia. It's a great big old book. It's like 600 pages, and one of the things I talk about is the diverticular disease, diverticulitis. So you can read it all up there and read about 130 other conditions. So that's a free book that you can download. Yeah.
But does it do anything for narrowing of the colon? You know, it's real narrow from the diverticular spots.
Well, the thing is, what we talk about in our program, we're working with the magnesium, the REMAG, REMITE, Realign. We're working with 4 or 5 basic things, and we say that the body wants to be perfect. It's like the DNA of the body. They make a cell be perfect. We say the body will try to heal itself if you give it the right building blocks. The body's constantly renewing its cells and making new perfect cells. You can make a whole new body in 7 years. In the intestines, it may take less time. Now, if you've got scarring and all that, you know, maybe it's going to take longer. But I would even say if you can get a hold of our REMAG lotion as well, and you rub it on your stomach, then that magnesium is going to help break down the calcium that builds up in scar tissue and keeps it hard. So there are things you can do. It's a lot of information that I'm throwing at you, Jimmy, but what you can do anytime is phone into our customer service, and we'll make sure you have the information so you can learn about all this. Okay?
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for calling in. That was a good first call, Jimmy. You did well.
All right. Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Excellent. What a sweetheart, eh? What a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Okay, 4:45 until the top of the hour. How about you want to do another call, or do you want to throw some mailbag in before the top?
Mailbag. Okay. Lenny writes in, I have chronic AFib. I've done 1 ablation. I've read different opinions. Is 800 milligrams of magnesium okay with my heart meds, cardizime, and now amiodarone? Now, 800 milligrams, that means they're looking at a non-REMAG magnesium. Of course, we'd want them to do REMAG because of its absorption. Amiodarone, you really have to watch that because it's an iodine drug. And then they're asking about potassium, if that's important as well. And of course it is, but what this person really should do, I don't think they're a customer, really get the information from customer service, go to drcarolyndeanlive.com, download the AFib book, AFib Remineralize Your Heart, and get educated. You know, start in the beginning. We're not going to tell you what to do. We're going to tell you what to read first. Someone says, how much REMAG do you recommend for people ages 60 to 100? And if they have health problems like me, recovering from a massive heart attack. Love your show. I have all kinds of people listening. So this is, I think it's Paul. So I said earlier, Paul, start with a 1/4 teaspoon and work up until your symptoms are improved or gone, and stay there until you're saturated. It may be 2 and 3. I took 4 teaspoons a day for about a year and a half before I was cutting back. You work for up to saturation. With heart conditions, read the AFib book, and don't just think about taking REMAG alone. Add the REMITE and Realign and balance things out. Someone's asking, Kathy is saying, is your half teaspoon of REMAG 150 milligrams of elemental magnesium? Yes, it is. She's asking about magnesium for depression. we do say that that REMAG can be used for balancing anxiety and depression. It's a start. She's looking at a study that used magnesium, and these studies, they'll give a certain dosage, but they're not using the good magnesium such as we have in REMAG with the better absorption. But a study doesn't tell you how much to take. Your own body tells you how much to take. So you would start with a quarter teaspoon and work up to, as I said, 2, 3, and even 4 teaspoons of REMAG. One more minute. I take 3 teaspoons of magnesium per day. Is that a right amount for a 57-year-old? And I said, yes, 3 teaspoons a day is perfect. Oh, this is a former telephone consult of mine. And I said to him, and he's taking all the products, thank you for staying on protocol. It keeps you healthy, and you only email me about twice a year. I think that's a testament to your good health. That's what we want people to do. Keep taking your complement formulas, and you're responsible for your own health, and you're doing great. Okay, Ginny, we're at the top of the hour pretty much.
Okay, very good. So we'll take our callers after the top of the hour, 602-666-6027. If you want to get in on the action with Dr. Dean, we'll be right back, everybody.
We'll be back with Hour 2 of Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with host Ginny Gunther, after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
AchieveRadio.com. Here we go now. Go to the Carolyn. Here we go now. Here we go now. The wellness scene with Dr. D.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Achieve Radio. Thank you for tuning in this fine Monday evening, or whenever you listen through the archives. Could be 8 years from now, but we're happy you're listening and participating in our community of people who are fascinated with Dr. Dean, her work, and her confidence and joy knowing how their health is going to be restored if they give their body the basic building blocks. And that's what we talk about all the time, minerals and other nutritional assets that allow the body to perform at its peak, because the body does have its own intelligence, and we trust that it wants to be performing reliably and perfectly at all times. That is its cellular blueprint, that is its intelligence, and that it is what it wants to do. And Dr. D is the one who's unscrambled the message and figured all this out for us, and she's here with us again this next hour to take phone calls at 602-666-6027, and also to read Mailbag, interact with the chat line, and talk to her magnificent and wonderful host, Ginny Almighty. So anyway, welcome back, Carolyn.
Thank you. Okay, let me quick do 4 more mailbags because they came out of our blog this morning. The blog goes out in the morning. People write in their questions, and so we want to get to them. Cheryl is 61 years old next month. She said, I'd like to applaud your quick reply and knowledgeable customer service team. They're the best I've dealt with. And that's true. Thank you, customer service team. I've been to my doctor 2 weeks ago for a physical. My blood pressure was running high for the last month, which, knowing this, brings up my anxiety badly. Yes, you can get white coat syndrome, and then that escalates. I'm on blood pressure meds, so it doesn't even help. The meds really don't keep you from having more blood pressure when you get tense. I'm on blood pressure meds, but the doctor's switching it, and I take Xanax when needed for anxiety. I also take cholesterol and antidepressant meds. Plus, I've been having muscle cramps really badly during the day, but nighttime is horrific. They wake me up. Some of the cramp spasms I've had, I've never thought would go to those places. Now, I don't think she gives me the names of the meds. Some of them may be fluoride meds, which are decreasing her magnesium. But now she says, anyhow, they've subsided a lot since taking Remag. I had my doctor look it up during my visit, and she was impressed and suggested I up my Remag to 3 teaspoons daily. Yay, doctor. I'm currently taking 1 teaspoon for 2 weeks, so she's going to increase to 3. Awesome. I also have Remite and wondering when I should start it. Now, our guidelines are very clear. They come with the package. They say start with Remag, and 1 week later, a week into taking Remag, you can start your Remite, and you start that with a 1/4 teaspoon and slowly build that up. And if you're on 3 teaspoons of Remag, then the dose of 1.5 teaspoons a day is perfect. What benefits I get from it? Well, the Remite, it gives you 12 minerals that support your hormones, your immune system, and are probably deficient as magnesium is deficient in our food supply. So if you have a low thyroid, it's going to help, etc. I also, do you have any suggestions what else I could take that would benefit me? Yes, of course, the Realign, and if you're having any weight issues, the Restructure protein powder, balanced meal powder is going to be very helpful. The RNA drops will help. The Bliss State, you can Google more about RNA drops, or where do we have anything on RNA drops, Ginny, in the written form?
They can definitely, well, we've got our great webinar, which I think is probably one of the most compelling things that people would want to look at, which is on YouTube. And but they can also, we've got an FAQ that they can email into customer service.
So, yes, the webinar is called RNA Reset Webinar, and it goes into all the aspects of how the RNA drops were created and what they're doing to the environment. the external environment and to your environment. And Cheryl ends with, I also have RSD, reflex sympathetic dystrophy, in the right foot, lower, and in the lower back. Had surgery for bulging discs 17 years ago, and have just been diagnosed with hip bursitis on the left side. Can you help? Yes, you would be putting Remag lotion on painful bits, and just stick with it. Slowly build up all the complement formulas. If you're going to use all the products, you'll be put in touch with Julie, who will be awesome in helping you sort things out. The worst is over, Cheryl. You've arrived at the exact right place at the exact right time. Alba says, my question is about deficiency of magnesium and Lyme disease. I read that the spirochetes feed off magnesium to survive. I don't know whether to continue to take Remag. Now, this is very frustrating for me. All organisms, like all the nutrients, they are alive. They want nutrients just like you. So to say that Lyme feeds off magnesium and therefore you should stop magnesium is crazy. And in fact, I've read over the years that when you have enough magnesium, Lyme doesn't like a person having magnesium. And why is that? Because when a person is saturated with magnesium, their immune system is working. All the things that reject Lyme in a person would be working. So for heaven's sake, take your Remag and work with our yeast protocol, which is the closest we have to a Lyme treatment. I don't really go into Lyme treatment because I think it is complex, and I don't want to be said to be treating something that I'm not trained in. However, I think in the RNA reset, in the Reset the Yeast Connection book, my Reset the Yeast Connection book, I do talk a bit about Lyme in there. And Rahman says, thank you for your work. Would you speak to this? If you have too high concentrations of other essential minerals and increase your magnesium intake with Remag, can the body then begin to utilize said minerals and reestablish the balance? Now, I did send out an email through customer service to find out how this person knew she had too high concentrations, because it does matter. If it's a hair analysis, it's very hard to for me to say whether or not they're true readings. She says, I'm high in iron and zinc and have been taking 1 teaspoon Remag for 4 months. At first with Remite and now with no mineral supplementation. I guess she's afraid of, well, there is some zinc in Remite. There's no iron in Remite. And again, I don't know where the testing was. I think a person, even if they have high amounts of other essential minerals, as she says, in their blood, urine, or hair, the Remite is safe to take because it's very low potency minerals, and they're stabilized ions of the minerals. There's only 3 milligrams of zinc in Remite. A lot of products you'll see they have 20, 25, 50 milligrams of zinc because they're not stabilized ions. They're zinc compounds, mineral compounds that they have to disassociate, and the ions from the minerals have to take that tiny second that they're disassociated to get into the cells, whereas our minerals are ionized, so they get directly into the cells. So a lot of the results of these blood and hair tests are showing the buildup of minerals that a person's been taking, and they aren't at the cellular level. So I don't know how much more I can say about that. Rahman says the REMAG eliminated her muscle cramps until 2 weeks ago and has made a noticeable difference in her skin and her varicose veins. So she's just taking the 1 teaspoon. So yes, I would say continue to take your REMAG to the 2 and 3 teaspoons. Take your Remite. You may just want to take 1 teaspoon of Remite. Marcia says, I am taking 2 teaspoons of REMAG and Remite for about 8 months, doing fine, feeling stronger than I have for years. But she says her urine has a strong odor. What's happening? And she may be detoxing. I don't know when it started. I sent out a question to her about that. But it could be detoxification. But be sure you're doing the correct amount of water intake to dilute that strong odor. Every urine has a bit of an odor. But make sure you're doing half your body weight in ounces of water, and look at the yeast to see whether or not you may be detoxing yeast. And last one at this point, Susan says, taking REMAG but have bradycardia. So I'm only taking a half a teaspoon daily. Will I be able to increase the intake after I get a pacemaker? I hope so, yes, definitely. I mean, that's what a pacemaker is for, to give your heart a little jump start if you go below a certain level of your pulse. But 1 second. Drink of my REMAG sea salted water. But if you take the REMAG and also your Remite and Realign, you could heal up the whole bradycardia situation. Okay, over to you, Ginny.
Okay, wonderful. Let me, again, 602-666-6027. I've got my callers holding, but just one real quick question, because I thought this was just so precious. Gary types in, I love Dr. Dean and the products, but my fear is relying on one form of magnesium. What if she retires? What if the company folds? Where can I get my REMAG? Sorry for being so blunt. Love you, Jenny and Dr. Dean. So, Carolyn, what's a person supposed to do?
I'm never retiring. The company is my company. I will never go public. And I have what do you call it? I have a plan for the future. Is that how you say it? So that the company will always exist.
There you go.
So,
you have very good. Excellent. So no worries. Stock up, Gary. We're going to be around for a while. 2.5 year shelf life at least on every bottle. Although we have some that we've been holding in storage, our sample are still stable after many, many years. So don't worry about it. We're going to be around. We're here. No problem. Okay, let's take our phone calls, Carolyn, if you don't mind. Do you want to do that?
Yep, I'm all set. Perfect.
Okay. Let's go out to the great state of Virginia. Virginia, you're on the phone with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Hi, this is Paul Saunders. Thanks, Dr. Dean and Jenny.
Hey.
So first time on the call, enjoying this. So I just had a couple quick questions. One, in talking about dosage, you mentioned 2 teaspoons and 3 teaspoons and 4 teaspoons. Yet on the label it says take a half a teaspoon of REMAG, and then if you really want sort of a full dose, take 2 half teaspoons. And it says on the Remite, take 3/4 of a teaspoon. If you really want a full dose, take 2 of those. Why would you put that on the label if the real advice is take more, like 2 or 3 or 4? And then secondly, you say keep upping your dosage till you feel like your body's saturated. I don't know when.
Okay, the reason is
your body saturated?
Okay, that's 2 questions. Let me get to the first one. The reason is that the FDA requires certain labeling, and in 2004, 2005, when I was visiting the Codex Alimentaris meetings in Europe, they made it very clear that the globalism movement was trying to make sure that dietary supplements stayed at a very low potency so that they wouldn't interfere with drugs. And hopefully those trade agreements that were signed by the U.S. have been overcome. Hopefully President Trump has overturned them. But this is what the drug companies want it to be a law that you're not allowed to have any more than the RDA of supplements on your label. So I'm compliant with the FDA, and if you read further on the label, you'll see that something about increasing your doses under, a practitioner's supervision or whatever. And so that's one thing, and that's why we have our educational outreach, so we can say to people, yeah, you can stay with a maintenance of 1 teaspoon a day, but is that covering your magnesium requirements? So, yeah, it is difficult. We've already been dinged by the FDA for implying that REMAG is treating diseases, because once a nutrient is said to be treating a disease, it becomes a drug. And we would have to do a billion-dollar drug study. So yeah, we're in a very bad place in our society where we can't even tell you what to take to save your life.
Okay.
So put that in your pipe and smoke it, Paul.
And the RDA, that number that they recommend, there's no merit to that number. It's
no merit at all. No merit. What they did with the RDAs of magnesium is they supposedly used the laxative effect as the bad side effect to avoid. So they make it so low just so that people won't have this life-threatening diarrhea. I'm being very facetious here.
Yeah,
and,
of course.
They're working with a magnesium oxide is their official magnesium, and that's only 4% absorbed. It is a very strong laxative. So it's very arbitrary. It's based on nothing.
So how about the saturation question? If you take, do I take 3 teaspoons
I got
or 4?
I got it. So what happens is we can just give examples. We can't tell you what to take, but my example is, I weigh about 105 pounds. I needed 4 teaspoons of REMAG for a year and a half before all my heart palpitation symptoms were gone. I wish I would keep better track, but after maybe a year, because it was a year before Remite came out, Paul, when I started taking Remite in the early days, I then only required 3 teaspoons of REMAG, and I realized, okay, that extra teaspoon of REMAG was going toward treating other mineral deficiency symptoms, and when I took those minerals, I didn't have symptoms, so I didn't feel I required that much magnesium, something to that effect. And then after the year and a half, even at 2 teaspoons, I was getting the laxative effect. Then I knew I was saturated. So it boom, boom, boom. I got rid of my symptoms, and I had a lot of them. Some people aren't aware enough of their symptoms, so they don't know when they're saturated. It's like if I would skip a dose, even in the first year, I would get heart palpitations back. So I knew right away when I was saturated, because I could go a whole day without my REMAG and not get my heart palpitations back.
That's interesting. I'll just give you a quick anecdote, if I may, which I think the listeners will enjoy. So I have AFib also, and I've been taking flecainide, an arrhythmia drug, twice a day. And then I got onto the magnesium, and sort of what you said, I started taking a lower dose and still my flecainide. And then I started taking a higher dose, and I only took a half dose of the flecainide, and that seemed to work fine. And then I sort of got the nerve to take no flecainide, and then I was up to 2 teaspoons a day, and no flecainide. And so for 4 months I had no episodes. And then I decided, so a friend of mine said, gosh, you might be having kidney issues, you're taking too much, you should cut back, or it's going to retain water, and your blood pressure is going to go up. So all this stuff. So I cut back to a half a teaspoon 3 times a day. And so now instead of 2 teaspoons, 1.5 teaspoons. And then I had an AFib episode. It's like, oh God, that's so scary. So then I've gone back to now. Just a couple days, I started taking a half dose of flecainide again, just out of sort of fear, like, oh gosh, that's not working so great. So I better get back on, at least try some of my meds. And now I'm taking, I'm back up to...
in your mind, though, Paul, didn't you even think, well, my Remag was helping me for those months. I cut back on it. My AFib came back. Wouldn't you just go back up on your Remag?
I didn't, just because too much fear.
Yeah. So that's what we're fighting against, the fear and, these so-called friends, thinking they know something. And with your heart in a vulnerable state in that you've had diagnosed AFib. So,
I've had an ablation.
It's so difficult, but that's fine. You're on half-dose flecainide. You can increase your Remag again and do the same experiment over again. It might be 3 teaspoons that keeps you from, falling back when you're under stress or whatever. But you're doing what you're doing is what we call the experiment. And people
so
do
you
it
think
all
3
the time.
teaspoons? That's not off limits. So that no problem.
No.
Just doing it.
No, I mean, the thing with being scared about magnesium is your friend said about the kidneys. Well, we have a whole section in my Magnesium Miracle book about kidneys. I won't go into it right now. I think you'd like to read it, and you can email into customer service support at rnareset.com, and we just send you the excerpt if you don't have the book. You've got to educate yourself. Everything your friend said, just write it down, take note of it, and with the books I've written or radio show archives, you can have an answer to all of it, or you can just tell your friend to forget about it. You say to your friend, you took me off Remag and I had an AFib episode. It's on you, so back off, okay?
Yeah, all right. Well, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Good,
all
very
right.
good for a first-time call. Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Excellent. Very, very sweet. Sweet man. And well-meaning friends. God bless him. Okay. Let's see where we at here. People, we've got a couple questions on the chat line. Carolyn, 602-666-6027 is the phone number. Don't forget to press *5 if you want to talk to Dr. Dean so I can take your phone off mute. And right now I don't have any waving hands, which means I don't have anybody who's waiting to talk to Dr. Dean. But, again, new people, got to hit *5 on your keypad to let me know you're there. Okay, Carolyn, let's do a couple of chitty-chatty lines. And one of them is my 84-year-old dad was just diagnosed with aortic unfolding. He has AFib, is on blood pressure, diabetes, blood thinner, Lasix, and cholesterol medications. How am I supposed to help him? He can't take any more products than all the drugs he's taking. Can the Remag lotion help at least at something?
What is it? What's with the aorta, Ginny?
Aortic unfolding?
Wow.
What is that?
I mean, Well, let's look it up. I mean, it's that's a new word for me. I know there's aortic aneurysms, so it sounds like the aorta is dissecting, unfolding. I love learning new words. An abnormality visible on a chest X-ray that shows widening of the mediastinum, which may mimic the appearance of a thoracic aortic aneurysm. Okay, well, we're not going to go there, but yes, REMAG can help, seriously. We have so many parents using the REMAG and REMAG lotion, and say there's, whatever symptoms the meds are treating, say those symptoms improve, then you say to the doctor, well, can you wean them off or lower the doses? That's all you're looking for at this point. And, yes, the REMAG lotion can help. And heaven forbid, some of our really forward customers, they will put the REMAG lotion in a body cream bottle and give it to their parents, mostly their mothers, and just watch as the miracles unfold. We see it all the time. Rheumatoid blood tests changing, the arthritic fingers changing, energy improving, sleep improving. So there.
Absolutely, 100%. Wonderful. Yes, absolutely. Robert says, I've recently been diagnosed with prostate cancer that's pretty aggressive. I'm taking 300 milligrams of REMAG currently. Would you advise me to increase my dose? What other steps would you take to fortify my body during this stressful time?
Well, we would say the whole formula, all the formulas, 2 and 3 teaspoons REMAG, teaspoon and a half of Remite, the Realign, but most importantly, a consultation with our beloved Dr. David Holt, who works with the conflict basis of disease, including cancer. Prostate cancer can be related to the fears of a grandfather who doesn't think he's going to have grandchildren. Sounds bizarre, but there is a reason for every disease, and total biology, German New Medicine tries to sort that out, and it's quite amazing, and it's really it's changed my view of cancer. I do not fear cancer because I know it's a conflict.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Robert, if you need any more information on that, just email support, SUPPORT at RNA Reset, and we'll get you the information. Marv typed in, Dear Dr. Dean, my granddaughter is having stomach pain and was told that she has pylori. She is now on REMAG and Remite. Will either of those help her?
Wow. Well, she's talking about H. pylori, the stomach infection. She might have to take the medication for it, but I really don't. I can't go into that for a child treating a disease diagnosis, so I'm going to have to let the doctors handle that. Certainly the minerals will help, etc., but that's as much as I can say on that.
Very good. Douglas in Florida, I thought we talked about this before, Carolyn. Let me know if you think this is a repeated question. Douglas in Florida types in, a friend decided to take Natural Calm to increase his magnesium. After about a month of taking a teaspoon per day, he started getting nighttime hallucinations. His only other med is a blood thinner. When he stopped the Natural Calm, his nighttime hallucinations went away. Then he tried a half teaspoon, and the hallucinations recurred. Is there a connection between magnesium and hallucinations?
No, there is not. There really isn't. I mean, this is how rumors start. Who knows why the person had that reaction? I mean, maybe they were nightmares. I don't know. I don't even want to comment. I wish you hadn't asked that question.
Right. Like my mind goes to blood thinner hallucination is more, likely, right?
Yeah.
Because that means everybody who's eating food that has magnesium in it would be hallucinating. Right. I think so many people forget that magnesium is a food, whereas if they were eating blood thinners, they might be hallucinating. But, people put magnesium in their mouth all day long with no hallucination. So that you just got to kind of follow the clear path on that one. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, let's see where we are. 602-666-6027. Callers waiting out in California. Carolyn, should we take some phone calls?
Okay, go ahead.
All right, excellent. Wonderful state of California. Modesto, you're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Sure, my name is Linda. And my question is, I found Dr. Dean about 2 years ago, and then I started listening to the shows, and then I got sidetracked. But anyway, fast forward to last week, I was able to connect again through the radio, and I was pleasantly surprised, Dr. Dean, that did I hear correctly, now you follow the ketogenic protocol?
Yes, that's correct, Linda.
And so I was very pleasantly surprised with that because that's something that I've been doing a lot of research on. And so with your products, you recommend the Remite, and for someone, I'm 47 years old, so I'm going to start doing keto finally. And I want to add your products to my regimen. I have some goals for this year, and one of them is to lose weight. So I will be purchasing your protein product. And so I believe I'm premenopause. I'm still menstruating, maybe just giving too much information here, but I know that I will be reaching that point where I'll be dealing with a lot of hormone. If I'm not already dealing with that, which probably I am because my hair's, falling off and all that stuff, the heart palpitations and all that. So would this help me as well? I did read your website where you recommend...
Okay, let me answer you.
Sure.
I'll have my turn here because we've been asked this question a lot. So I can go right to drcarolyndeanlive.com, download our free book, Reset Your Ideal Weight.
Oh, okay.
And in that, is that the keto book, Ginny? Good grief, I'm forgetting.
Yeah, so many books. Yes, Reset Your Ideal Weight is the ketogenic book. Yep, and we also have a webinar. Yep, we sure do.
And we have yes, thank you, Ginny. And what I learned when I was doing the keto diet, Linda, is that I mean, I'm fasting right now. I do intermittent fasting, and I don't even feel hungry because my body has the nutrients. I still take my minerals. So when you're doing the first couple of days maybe of a fast to get into keto so that you'll remind your fat-burning cells to do the right thing. The whole thing about the keto diet is you're not letting the carbs take over the function of giving you your body the energy. So you're either burning carbs or you're burning fat. So if you stop eating carbs, then you turn over into your fat burning. So doing a fast or do intermittent fasting where you don't eat for 16 hours, it just makes sure that your body is burning fat and not starving for the carbs that you think you're missing. Anyway, what you get with the Remag and Remite is the minerals that your body is used to getting from food. So because it's getting them in your liquids, then you're not starving for the nutrients. The Realign is very helpful because it is it's the methylated and food-based bees, and it's also a couple of amino acids that support glutathione production, so it's a gentle detox. So, because when you're fasting, some people are so toxic that they start having detox symptoms. That's the headaches that they talk about when you start the keto. So everything about the keto side effects is taken care of by our products. And you mentioned the restructure. It's a perfect keto food so that you can kind of continue your fasting by not eating a whole bunch of solid food right at the beginning. So anyway, I'm very excited by what we've been able to do with the keto diet, because you're only 47, but, when people have been into carbs and creating all kinds of insulin resistance for decades, we really have to stop eating most carbs, because carbs will make insulin come out of the pancreas and to deal with the carbs. And when you have too much insulin creates weight. So you're trying to stop the carbs, to stop the insulin, to stop the weight gain, and to burn the fat that you already have plenty of and use that up as fuel. So that's keto for you.
Oh, you know what? This is the best news, because last week I barely started doing intermittent fasting, and you just said that that's something else that you're doing. So I'm like, yes, score here, because and exactly what you're telling me is what my brain and my body or something was telling me, because I said, if I go keto, my cravings are going to go away. That's a good thing, and I'll be able to do and I'm doing 16-8. As well, and I said, and that'll help me because I won't be having cravings and all this stuff. So when I do the intermittent fasting, when I break the fast, I'm thinking of taking your protein shake. Is that good?
Yeah, perfect. Exactly.
And then probably have some good keto food after that. That was also my concern, that I would not be eating enough nutrients, but the protein, like you said, is going to take care of a lot of that. But thank you so much. I do appreciate you taking the time to explain this to me, and I will move on so that you can take another call. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Linda. Good luck, and keep us posted.
Will do. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Excellent. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on achieveradio.com. Wonderful, wonderful call. Anybody, again, got to raise your hand, *5 on the keypad if you'd like to talk to Dr. Dean this evening and share your thoughts or your comments with her. We've got about another 15 minutes in the show that we can take phone calls. Okay, let's see. Where else are we, Carolyn? Now, are we all caught up with the mailbag?
No. I mean, I've done the ones from today related to the blog, but I have plenty of mailbag if you want me to continue on.
Yes, let's take a couple more questions from the mailbag. That'd be great.
Right. Some of them arose from the recent blog. Did you get a chance to read Adapt, Adopt, and Survive?
Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I thought that was so precious, and I shared it with everybody that I thought might be a high-functioning millennial.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically about these young kids who are growing up on ADHD medications, Ritalin, etc., and they're still using a bit of Adderall, or they're doing marijuana, and the ones I'm meeting of late are very functional, wonderful people. And what I say is I've become less judgmental about their experimentation. It's as long as they keep up on their Remag and Remite, and the people I know are doing that, and they find they need or want less of their, quote, medication or their sacrament. And I just thought it was just important for me to say that we can't be in the generation that just says, oh, these young kids, they're doing it all wrong. They may be adapting much more than we are. And I had several people write, someone said, while the recognition that everyone is unique, so no one size fits everyone equally well, your work with magnesium is certainly at the foundation of maximizing health and bodily functioning. In my case, I don't think I've understood well enough how all your products fit me and optimize my body chemistry, nutritional requirements, and overall well-being. And that's enough there. And one of our wonderful customers, Joan from Canada, talks about smoking behind the shed when she was a kid. The tobacco behind the shed is kind of like the marijuana now, and her concern is that everybody's going into the CBD oil, and as we are concerned, Ginny, using it for all their aches and pains instead of recognizing it as plain old magnesium and mineral deficiencies. So, yeah, that's really important. And here's a testimonial. My husband and I started your complete reset protocol about a month ago. The keto diet about 2 weeks ago. The yeast overgrowth protocol about a week ago. Wow. The results are just incredible. My husband has been a type 2 diabetic for about 20 years. He controlled it through diet and exercise, but his sugars kept on going up the past few months, even though we ate a healthy diet, et cetera, et cetera. His fasting sugar would go up as high as 200 points. He had constant pain in his left hip and back due to a fall. He was always so tired. I was borderline diabetic with fasting sugars of about 112. I couldn't sleep at night and had constant muscle spasms on my neck and back. Since we started your complete reset protocol, our sugar levels have been going down, ! As we incorporated the keto diet as well as the yeast overgrowth protocol, the results are amazing. This morning, my husband's fasting sugars were 114 and mine 97 in just a month. I sleep so well at night, and the muscle spasms are 90% gone. My husband's pain is almost gone. We're both full of energy now and looking forward to the future. We just can't thank you enough, dear Dr. Dean. You are truly an answer to our prayers. By the way, I'm 60 years young, and my husband is 70 years young now. Thank you again from the bottom of our hearts. Awesome. Awesome. Right, Ginny? Give that a yay if you're close by the kids.
Yes, I am. They're right here.
Awesome. Now, this is quite an incredible testimonial. I don't know if you had a chance to speak to this person, but she says, my son, who's 16 years old, is autistic and has a bad case of eczema. Along with the usual issues of autism is his puberty-related mood swings. He would shout and get angry for reasons unknown to us. He would beat his chest, hit his head, shout and cry for certain periods of time, and then sometimes he would be fine. And as you can imagine, that was, horrible unpredictability here. He's seen some homeopaths, tried many different remedies. I started reading about magnesium and decided to try Remag to help his sleeplessness. It helped him a little, and tried Remag and Remite as well, and then bought a trial bottle of RNA drops. She said she bought it many months ago, but did not understand how it works. It was in the fridge for a long, long time. Then I saw the webinar on RNA reset drops. I thought I would give him a drop twice a day to see. 1 week of one drop twice a day, I began to see a reduction in the frequency of his outbursts. Then the second week, the duration of his outbursts became shorter. Now, almost a month into taking the RNA drops, I have since increased to 5 drops twice a day. He is a much happier boy. There's almost no more outbursts for the last 2 weeks. I'm amazed and thrilled by his improvement. You cannot imagine the joy it has brought me to simply see him more settled. And then she said she was curious about what was happening, why they were working. And did you get a chance to talk with her, or would you like to answer her questions here?
She is in Taiwan.
Oh, dear. Okay, so let's then answer her questions. How do RNA drops actually help in settling my son's mood swings? What would you say to that, Ginny? I consider you the RNA reset expert.
Well, we had that experience with the Zyto machine where the RNA drops were shown to balance out of balance stressors in the energy field of an individual. And there's a lot going on, with autistic children energetically. They're picking up on a lot of stimulus. And so maybe the RNA drops were able to just balance his energy field.
Mm-hmm. And the bliss state aspect that we noticed in the beginning of the RNA drops. And Bob, do you have anything to add from what you remember of what we were told about the RNA drops and the moods and emotions?
Yeah, just Saturday we played Ion talking about how the RNA drops expand and expound our wavelengths. So they do something very special, very unique. Expound was sort of a pun. I mean, you could say he meant to say expand, but it expounds, and you create through your words, so it does something to your creativity as well as bouncing off. Mm-hmm. So it's our basic frequency and wavelengths it works on.
Right. Okay, good. Let's see if there are more here. I know Dr. Dean also supports the use of homeopathy, but why is homeopathy not able to achieve what I had hoped to see? And what role can it play with the healing? If I give him Dr. Dean supplements, is homeopathy still necessary? So, yeah, this is what we talked about in our radio show with the homeopath, how I do support homeopathy, but I consider it the energetic solutions for different modalities, such as homeopathy, need the energy of the body in which to work. So that's where I say the minerals come first, the REMAG and REMITE, and then supposedly the homeopathy can work. But I would say that probably the RNA reset drops, they're made in a harmonic sequence. They are not homeopathy, but they're probably more tuned to your son than homeopathy at this time. But if you're using all the products on your son, then perhaps he will be more tuned into homeopathy. But be very careful, because when you go to some of the constitutional homeopaths, they even tell our customers to stop taking their remedies and just do the homeopathy, and then they start getting their symptoms back because they aren't taking our formulas. So don't be talked into stopping the protocol. And she continues, I'm so excited to see the changes in only 1 month, yet I'm also apprehensive about possible regression soon. Will there be a saturation point when the body stops improving? Well, I would just, he's 16 years old. He's probably 100 pounds or so. So I would stay with the 5 drops twice a day in his situation. And each new bottle you get will be a different generation. We're at about the 145th generation of the RNA reset drops, where there is a part of every generation in the drops you are now taking. So every generation has been poured into the next generation. So that's where the generations like in the Bible or the harmonic comes into play, and I think has a deep relationship with the body and how it functions.
Yeah, it's a living, growing, evolving product. Who ever heard of that before?
Mm-hmm. And then her final question. Yes, Ginny?
No, go ahead.
Final question, can you guide me on the dosages for my son? Currently, 2 teaspoons REMAG, 1 teaspoon REMITE, 1 Reline, 5 drops RNA twice a day. Is that sufficient? Yes. And what will also help is if you can also get the Restructure protein powder. The lysine in there, the protein, the balance, and there is RNA reset powder in the Restructure, which will help as well support the RNA drops intake. So this is awesome, and we're going to send you the timestamp of this so your questions have been answered.
Hey, Carolyn, you mentioned that there have been many parents who said the drops had beneficial effects on their children.
Yeah, it's true, and we don't really pay enough attention to that, and partly it's sort of an FDA thing too. We are not allowed to tell people our products are working.
We're not allowed to help people.
No.
They're not allowed to have any benefit. Isn't that hilarious? It's even our disclaimer.
No, you can sell your products, Dr. Dean, as long as they don't help anybody.
That's right. It's so hilarious. Hey, we've got some questions here on the chat line, Carolyn. Let's get to these. And one of them is, when will the RNA drops be back in stock? Do you have an answer?
As soon as, well, it could be a couple of weeks. What the answer to that is how we do our quality control. And the reason why I own this company and I don't want anyone else to own it, I don't want to go public, is because there was a glitch in this last production run. It turned out to be a little more bubbly than we've ever had before. And instead of trying to sort of fix it or dilute it or do anything to it, we just said, okay, put that away and start over. And most companies, they will not do that. That's how I got into this whole, quote, business of going to Codex and finding out what was going on with products, is that when you talk to a supplement manufacturer looking for them to make your supplements, and when you say to them, if you have a contaminated batch of a raw ingredient, do you toss it? And they say no. They have all kinds of means of irradiating a product to get rid of infectious organisms. I mean, the list goes on, and those raw ingredients somehow get to the product line without you knowing that they've been irradiated or whatever else is done, nitrogen dioxide or something. So anyway, it didn't work out this time, so we hate being back ordered, but I also will not put out a product that's not perfect. So there.
Very good. And there's a difference. We've had a couple little bubbly batches before, but there's a difference between that and what this was. But also, some of it, when everybody works with the drops, the batches taste different. Those aren't the quality control issues. Those are evolutionary issues. I mean, the drops do evolve, like Bob says. They're a living organism. They're constantly growing, and they do have these different effects. So this was a little different, so as Dr. Dean explained. Okay, now, Carolyn, this person is saying, my friend has had major back pain for some sort of surgery and is despondent and depressed. She has leg cramps day and night. I've directed her to your site and mentioned your products. Older people and depressed people, exasperated people are resistant to trying something that will help. Any ideas to push her toward Remag? I'm thinking of buying her a bottle of the lotion to try. Being in Canada, we are often reluctant to order from down south. Sorry so long. Any ideas?
Yes, do the lotion. People seem to be able to accept that as something that they do every day anyway, put lotion on their skin to make it, nice and soft and hydrated. So do the lotion. And, I don't know what to say about Canada and customs and all that, but our products do get across the border, so keep on trying.
Yes, so we have new reduced pricing in our international shipping. It's still in the 30-day beta testing, but you can get on our website. You'll be able to bring the Remag lotion in for under the $60 Canadian, and the shipping should be very palatable these days. So check it out. Lynn types in and says, my issue is that I can't get past 2 teaspoons. Darn it. I get really loose bowel movements. I take psyllium husk, and it does help. However, how can I test, or how many weeks or months do I have to include the psyllium husk before I can test to see if I can tolerate Remag alone? Thank you.
Well, then, if you're on 2 teaspoons and taking psyllium, and you add a 1/4 teaspoon and you have breakthrough diarrhea, then you're not ready. Remag lotion, we tell people to do that. You may already be doing it, but if this is ongoing, have you looked at yeast overgrowth and done the yeast protocol? Because sometimes it's using the antifungals to try to shift your intestinal organisms so they won't be so yucky on you. So that's what I would say.
Okay, very good. And Renee said, thank you for your answer. Do the products help with pain? And, of course, all inflammation. Right, Carolyn?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Yeah, it's Remag. It must, yeah, it's, we say inflammation and pain, but specifically what it may be doing is helping dissolve that calcification that's occurring in body parts. I mean, just think of people you've seen with those knots, K-N-O-T-S, on their knuckles and their fingers. Those tend to be inflamed calcifications. And we have people who rub the Remag lotion on their little fingers, and their fingers go down to normal size. It is quite incredible. So physiologically, you're working on the calcification. That is an aspect of aging and pain and all kinds of chronic diseases.
Excellent. And with that, from rising through the threshold of pain and disease, down through the mountains and into the valleys of all of our products, then zooming back up to the heights of Dr. Dean and all her wisdom, we must bid you fond adieu.
Thank you, Ginny.
Thank you, Ginny and Bill and Bob and listeners.
Good show.
Yeah, great show. Thanks, everybody.
You've been listening to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Till next time, so long, and thanks for all the fish.
AchieveRadio.com.